की तस्वीरें अगर मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा तो यहाँ पर जो उनको राजकीय सम्मान जो स्टेट ऑफ ऑनर देना है उसकी तैयारियां यहाँ पर पूरी हो चुकी है। और जो यहाँ पर पीयूष गोयल समेत केंद्रीय मंत्री पीयूष गोयल और गृह मंत्री अमित शाह समेत भाजपा नेता देवेंद्र फडणवीस और महाराष्ट्र के मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ शिंदे यहाँ पहुंचे थे। उन्होंने यहाँ पर वो एनसीपीए में पहुंचे, वहां से वो पार्थिव शरीर के साथ यहाँ पहुंचे और फिर यहाँ पर जो पारसी विधि के तहत 45 मिनट की प्रार्थना की जाती है उस प्रार्थना के दौरान वो यहाँ पर मौजूद रहे। वो प्रार्थना खत्म होने तक यहाँ पर रुके। उस अब से कुछ देर पहले वो यहाँ से निकले हैं। लेकिन अब यहाँ की अगर मैं आपको तस्वीरें दिखाऊंगा खास तौर पे ये वर्ली शमशान भूमि की, तो तस्वीरों में आप देख सकते हैं कि बाहर इस शमशान भूमि के बाहर एक लोगों का हुजूम उमड़ आया है, जिसे पुलिस जो है वहां पुलिस ने रोके रखने की जो है कोशिश की है। अगर अब ठीक मेरे पीछे आप तस्वीर देखेंगे तो वहां पर जो है लोगों को रोकने की कोशिश की गई है, क्योंकि पहले ही अंदर जो है काफी लोग मौजूद है और ऐसे में बाहर जो उनके चाहने वाले हैं, जो रतन टाटा के चाहने वाले हैं, जिनका कभी कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी जरिए से जो है रतन टाटा के ट्रस्ट की तरफ से या रतन टाटा के किए गए योगदान की तरफ से जिन लोगों का भला हुआ है या टाटा ट्रस्ट के टाटा मैनेजमेंट के जो लोग हैं जो उनके चाहने वाले हैं, वो उन लोगों का जो है भारी हुजूम यहाँ पर उमड़ रहा है। और ऐसे में आप देख सकते हैं पिलर्स के ऊपर लोग खड़े हैं उनकी आखिरी झलक के लिए, उनको एक आखिरी बार देखने के लिए। यहाँ पर ये पिलर्स जो शमशान भूमि का गार्डन है उस गार्डन के पिलर्स के ऊपर लोग खड़े हैं ताकि एक बार उनको उनकी आखिरी झलक जो है वो दिख जाए। और ऐसे में यहाँ पर स्टेट ऑनर की जो है तैयारियां भी पूरी हो चुकी है। अब उन्हें यहाँ पर अंतिम जो है उनका सम्मान किया जाएगा, राजकीय सम्मान किया जाएगा और उसके बाद उन्हें विद्युत अग्नि दहन जो है उनके पार्थिव शरीर को जो है अग्नि में सौंप दिया जाएगा। हालांकि पूरे देश के लिए काफी दुख की बात है, लेकिन एक शाश्वत सत्य जो है जिससे गुजरना पड़ता है हर एक इंसान को, वो यहाँ पर आज रतन टाटा जी जो कि जिनका एक बहुमूल्य योगदान देश के प्रति, देश के हर एक अलग सेक्टर में टाटा कंपनी के जरिए टाटा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के जरिए जो है जिस तरह से उन्होंने अपना बहुमूल्य योगदान दिया। और सिर्फ ये देखिएगा स्टेट ऑफ ऑनर जो है वो शुरू हो चुका है। मैं अपने कैमरामैन विष्णु से कहूंगा कि आपको तस्वीरें दिखाए कि किस तरह मुंबई पुलिस के जवान है गन जो है अपनी उनके स्टेट ऑफ ऑनर के लिए उन्होंने जो प्रक्रिया है वो उठा ली है। और फायरिंग जो उनके शोक में जो की जाती है वो फायरिंग अभी हुई है यहाँ पर। और इसके बाद अब गन डाउन की जाएगी, एक राउंड और फायर होगा और उसके बाद गन डाउन किया जाएगा।
All right, visuals coming in, and we've been keeping our focus on that. Mr. Ratan Tata's last rites in display here with the full state honors. Nitesh, my colleague, is still with us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Nitesh, अभी of course state funeral की जो एक प्रक्रिया होती है वो देखने को मिल रही है. गोलियों से बंदूक से सलामी भी दी गई. आगे क्या रुख रहेगा इस प्रोग्राम का?
जी बिल्कुल विनीत, देखिए अब यहाँ से जो है अब एकदम आखिरी पड़ाव पर जो है उनके अंतिम यात्रा जो है एकदम आखिरी पड़ाव पर है. अब यहाँ से उनके पार्थिव शरीर को एक इलेक्ट्रीफाइंग मशीन में जो है उनके पार्थिव शरीर को अग्निदेव को जो है सौंप दिया जाएगा और इस तरह जो है उन्हें अंतिम विदाई दी जाएगी. लेकिन उनकी ये अंतिम विदाई में देश भर से बल्कि विदेशों से भी जिन जिन के साथ उन्होंने काम किया है, जो उनके करीबी रहे, जो उनके परिजन रहे और बल्कि जो उनके कर्मचारी है जिनसे वो कभी मिले भी नहीं, वो तक यहाँ पर जो है भागे दौड़े पहुँचे और एक झलक पाने के लिए पिलर्स पर खड़े होकर लोग जो है यहाँ पर उनकी एक झलक के लिए तरस रहे हैं. मैं तस्वीरों में आपको दिखा रहा हूँ किस तरह से जो है लोग यहाँ से घंटों से जो है इंतजार कर रहे हैं कि एक झलक यहाँ पर हमें रतन टाटा की किसी भी तरह मिल जाए. तो ये इन चीज़ों से आप अंदाज़ा लगा सकते हैं कि अपने आप में कितना बड़ा व्यक्तित्व वो रखते थे और कि काफ़ी ज़्यादा शौकीन नहीं थे किसी चीज़ का, लेकिन वो हमेशा सादा सरल जीवन जो है जीते थे. और ऐसे में जब वो 2012 में टाटा समूह के चेयरमैन से वो उन्होंने इस्तीफा दिया, वो हटे, तो ऐसे में उन्होंने कहा कि मेरे कुछ शौक है जो मैं अभी उन्हें पूरा करूंगा. जैसे उन्हें पियानो बजाना जो है बहुत पसंद था, वो बहुत बेहतरीन पियानो बजाया करते थे और कुकिंग का उन्हें बहुत शौक था. तो एक महान व्यक्तित्व था उनका, लेकिन जीवन जीने का तरीका जो था वो काफ़ी सरल था, काफ़ी सामान्य जीवन जो जीते थे. लेकिन जो उनकी थॉट प्रोसेस थी, जो उनका थिंकिंग स्किल्स था, वो एक असाधारण इंसान की तरह सोचते थे. वो सदैव उनका जो सोचने का तरीका था वो हमेशा असाधारण रहा और लोगों के मुकाबले. वो हमेशा वो क्या बेहतर से बेहतरीन कदम उठा सकते हैं, कितने बेहतर से बेहतरीन डिसीजन ले सकते हैं, इस और उन्होंने जो है हमेशा काम किया है. और यही सारी चीज़ें जब आज वो हम लोगों से विदा ले रहे हैं, तो यही सारी चीज़ें हमें वो सारी चीज़ें याद आती है. हम जब कभी अपने पिता से सुनते थे और जबकि बल्कि हम जब खुद हमने पढ़ना शुरू किया कि रतन टाटा ने क्या कुछ योगदान देश के प्रति दिया है, और जब हम लोगों ने होश संभाला और हमने देखा अपने आंखों के सामने कि वो 26/11 का अटैक हुआ था, 166 लोगों की जान गई थी, कई सारे लोग जो है विकलांग हो चुके थे, और उन लोगों को जो लोग विकलांग हो गए थे, जिनके परिजन जो है जिनकी जान चली गई थी,
Ganesh, well, it's a sad day. The entire country is, feeling the loss. It's a palpable loss of one of the greatest sons of the soil. Uh, Ganesh, Ganesh, well, it's a sad day. The entire country is, feeling the loss. It's a palpable loss of one of the greatest sons of the soil. What, according to you, did Mr. Ratan Tata stand for? We can talk about his legacy, we can talk about his personality, we can talk about the businesses that he erected and, the projects he turned around. But the fact of the matter is that, here you have a guy who's larger than life. And when he passes away, every soul in the country is talking about it. He never held a public office. He never had any political aspirations. It's just his nature. Ganesh, well, it's a sad day. The entire country is, feeling the loss. It's a palpable loss of one of the greatest sons of the soil. What, according to you, did Mr. Ratan Tata stand for? We can talk about his legacy, we can talk about his personality, we can talk about the businesses that he erected and, the projects he turned around. But the fact of the matter is that, here you have a guy who's larger than life. And when he passes away, every soul in the country is talking about it. He never held a public office. He never had any political aspirations. It's just his nature. Even if he was not Ratan Tata and people knew him for his personality and his magnanimity, I still think the impact would have been similar. Vinesh.
Oh, absolutely, Vineet. I think like you, I think Mr. Vivek Oberoi summed it up pretty well. And as an educationist, and when you ask me what do you remember about him, I mean, the show's too small for me to really talk about all that one remembers. But I think 5 to 6 points stand out very strongly in my mind. And if you allow me, I'd like to just talk about that. Of course, one, as an educationist, I think what he did for the education ecosystem was fantastic and quiet at that. Just went about doing it quietly. whether it is funding research for Alzheimer's development and research for Alzheimer's, whether it is for funding grants for Cornell University to ensure that students from India go abroad who do not have financial assistance for them to go to the Cornell University. I'm not sure how many are aware, but he funded Harvard. And the great Tata legacy to back education, I think he just took it to a different level. And what really stood out was his humility, the fact that he was humble till the very end. I mean, his last tweet to the nation said, "Don't worry about me, everything is fine." That really stood out. But few other points really stand out, and I just quickly breeze through them because these really stand out for me. I think while he's been humble, he's also been extremely clear-headed about his passion for the country. Don't forget that famous 1998 story of how he had a meeting with Bill Ford where he wanted to sell his car business, and it didn't go very well. And that 10 years down the line, he absolutely got his focus in place and he bought out JLR and actually saved Ford. I think that stands out for me. Uh, the fact that after the Taj attacks, he set up a Tata Welfare Trust, public trust, just for the employees of Taj who got affected. I mean, the speed at which he did it and to ensure that he actually takes care of those folks who are actually got impacted by the terrorist attack for their kith and kin stood out. And again, the quietness with which he went about doing that really stood out. The fact that he invested into motor for the sake of strays who are getting run over and actually showed his compassion to the animal kingdom. And more than that, the very fact that he associated with someone called Shantanu Naidu, who was a next generation millennial, also showed his ability to want to stay connected with the next gen. You know? I mean, he actually had someone who was nearly 4 times younger than him as his assistant, as his companion in Tata Trust, and that reflected a lot. I think Vivek mentioned that when he talked to him, but the fact is that he was doggedly strong. He took over a legacy from a great empire, and it was not easy. He had satraps like Vasi Modi, Ajit Kerkar, Darbari to deal with, and he had to slowly carve out his own legacy. I think it did that with aplomb. Taking it from a nationalistic kind of a company to an international stage was fantastic. And don't forget, he actually let go of his entire legacy and his entire management when Cirrus Mystery took over. And he allowed him the full freedom. And yet, when he saw that the Tata ideology was kind of going a little astray in his eyes, he just wrenched it back. So that also shows his toughness when the situation demands it. I think these five, packed with humility and quietness in going about doing things, that really stands out. And I genuinely believe we should celebrate his life and just keep him alive for the rest of this century.
Vinesh, what do you make of his Vinesh? Well, it's a sad day. The entire country, every soul in the country is talking about it. He never held a public office. He never had any political aspirations. It's just his nature. Even if he was not Ratan Tata, Ganesh, even if he was not on everybody's mind. What do you remember today? On everybody's mind. What do you remember today of Mr. Ratan Tata? You know, he's no more with us, and obviously a flood of memories comes to everyone's mind who either have met him or have seen him in some shape or form.
Well, you know, the first memory that comes to my mind is when I was a young officer. I met him in Kerala. And, you know, then we had a joint venture with the Tata Group in the field of tourism. And, you know, when I wrote my first book, Branding India, An Incredible Story, he launched that book. He sent a message through my brother, who was a managing director of Tata Motors, that he would like to do the launch of the book, and he did a fabulous launch in the Taj Hotel in Bombay with all the chief executives of Tata Sons. But that showed his kindness, that showed his compassion, that showed his love for young people. Later, I interacted with him on a number of times when I was Secretary, Department of Industries, and as CEO Niti Aayog. What struck me was his focus on nutrition, his focus on improving education, his focus on startups, and he started funding startups. Startup India movement had just started. And that led to a huge growth of the startup movement in India. So his concern for women, his concern for sanitation. So not just business, not just globalizing Indian companies, but changing the lives of common citizens in India was his huge focus. And that impressed me hugely, that he wanted to change the Human Development Index, change the physical quality of life.
Mr. Kant,
that was remarkable.
Mr. Kant, from any of your personal interactions, is there something that you remember, sir? Mr. Kant?
Well, I've had a number of personal interactions with him.
Something that stands out still today.
What I found was, what stands out was, his concern for a weak mother, giving birth to weak children, who in turn produces stunted and wasted children, and therefore why we need to address nutrition. Everybody will tell you that he acquired Jaguar, Land Rover, Chorus, Tata Tetley, but I have a very different take, that his focus on nutrition, and he came at least 5 to 6 times to Niti Aayog to partner us. And he partnered us on nutrition, he partnered us on aspirational district program, and he said we must change
on everybody's mind, on everybody.
Not just globalizing Indian for a weak mother, giving rise. We must change the lives assumptions that we had made in these. Manufacturing, he was a great believer in Indian companies. He took them abroad, and Indian companies benefited from that. You know, I mean, the evolution of Tata's Motors as a manufacturing company, and now going ahead with Tata with electric vehicles, and his ability to think ahead and really be transformational now on semiconductors, on chip manufacturing, on R&D, on battery manufacturing. All that shows the canvas, the vision, the big thinking of the man.
So, what do you think was Mr. Ratan Tata's contribution when it came to India going global? You know, you spoke about JLR, you spoke about Tetley. You know, TCS has sponsored the New York Marathon on a number of occasions. What was his contribution in, you know, putting India on the map it currently enjoys?
No, the fact that he acquired Jaguar Land Rover, the fact that he acquired Tetley's, the fact that he acquired Chorus, and not merely did he make global acquisitions, but that inspired a number of Indian companies to go global. But more than that, technology from all these companies coming in and improving the Indian manufacturing was his contribution in many ways. He had the audacity to think big, think large, and even, you know, plan big of that size and scale which had never been done before in India. If Tata Motors had not acquired Jaguar Land Rover, it would not have a global imprint. It would today, their cars would not be world class. That has all happened because these companies have gone global.
Mr. Kant, you know, though Mr. Ratan Tata, you know, was from the old school, when it came to business leadership and thought. But, you know, here was a guy who very quickly adapted to change. You know, he was invested in around 70 startups. A lot of them were also working in AI. You know, he could use the cell phone as proficiently as a teenager. What did that tell you about the man?
Well, he was... And that's why when the Startup India movement happened, he started interacting with a lot of young startups, and he invested in a number of them. Quantum computing, investments.
Absolutely, sir. So last question before we let you go. He was in his late 30s and early 40s. He saw the liberalization come through. He always adapted and got along with the technology.
Great ability to work with young people, great ability to think ahead of time,